on, everybody? It's your buddy, it's your pal Spaz Phoenix, the YWC Reality Check, and I'm not going to do the you don't see my pretty sexy face thing anymore because you never see my pretty sexy face, but I do have a co-host. His name is Guapo. We're talking about ROH. What's going on, Guapo?
Hola, Mr. Amigo. Senor Guapo's back again, and that's right. We're talking about AEW. Wait, no.
We're talking about WWE.
No, we're talking about
NXT.
Well, technically, it's AEW
Light? Oh, that's a whole thing. We're talking about Impact? No, that's not.
No. We're talking about Ring of Honor.
In other words, AEW's NXT.
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
okay.
It is now.
But I warned you before we came on the air that I do have to cut this off very briefly because I haven't done a solo video in like 2 weeks. I have to get a little bit of house cleaning out of the way. So I want to put a quick plug out there. I'm going to talk about Destiny for a split second. I'll stop so you guys can all be very surprised. I am going to encourage you guys.
Check it out for your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. We're talking about Destiny. What's this? A minute into the podcast. Got it.
There you go. Hey, well, I'm going to a show that's got a fucking lot of people in it, but we'll talk about that later on. No, what I do want to do is put in a quick plug for them. Go to the Destiny Wrestling YouTube channel. Apparently, they're going to start doing these live stream things every Tuesday at sort of 7:30 p.m. Spaz time. They live stream a match. They come up, they do a bunch of new announcements for what's coming up for Summer Heat and all that sort of thing. It's hosted by the current Destiny president. I'm going to butcher this name, Emilio Albi, and Lily Alexandra, who's just fucking awesome. So please go check that out. They're going to be pulling some more matches out of the vault, so to speak, and it's just a good time. They did their first one last week. Pretty wicked Fatal 4-Way featuring Alexia Nicole, who is worth checking out if my opinion means anything to you. Also, just a general, what's coming up on the channel. I'm going to be previewing SummerSlam solo. I'm going to be previewing Emergence at some point solo. And next week, I am kidnapping Guapo one more time. Sorry to your missus. We are going to be previewing the Ric Flair's last match fight card for StarCast because that's going to be awesome. And by awesome, I mean ridiculous. We are talking.
That you're getting me to do that.
No, you don't. We're gonna make it fun. We're gonna have a game, and they're gonna be better than some of the other games that people play on other podcasts that we don't really need to talk about. So, not going to talk about the biggest. We're recording this on Friday, obviously. I'm not going to talk about the most recent bit of bombshell news that happened in WWE because that's a whole other pod for a whole other time. But I do want to touch on two little bits of news that sort of adjacently apply to ROH that I want to get your opinion on.
You want to touch on some news just like Vince McMahon was... Never mind.
I don't want to touch on who he may or may not have touched. Allegedly! First off, because I think this is more so to do with ROH directly, my prediction, not anything that anybody else has said, AEW/ROH being in talks with Mauro Ranallo.
Yes.
Yes, that's my answer too. Just yes. Yes.
I saw the reports too.
You've got Tony Schiavone there. You've got Jim Ross there. You've got Excalibur who does, his bit. You've got Taz. Add to that pool of commentators by adding Mauro Ranallo. And if you're
Mamma mia!
And if you're going to actually have a separate ROH show, which it hasn't really been indicated so far, but if you're going to have an actual ROH show, put him in there. I know they've got their guys, Riccaboni and Caprice Coleman.
Yes. Also, Colt Cabana normally would lend his voice to the commentary desk.
Yes, but has he not taken up a backstage role as well? Is the other rumor
Probably.
that? No, we had that positive story, I think it was over a week ago now, that they were just going to quietly let his contract expire, and a bunch of other wrestlers were like, no, you should probably hold on to him.
Yeah.
Which is good. Mauro Ranallo, I know, much as I like him, much as you like him, I know he's not everybody's cup of tea, but he's got a lot less working against him than somebody else like Jim Ross, who people love to pick on, who's only working like half the shows these days.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of cool what they're doing with Jim Ross. Like, I know people don't like him, so having him only on for half the show, and then he has his own little he gets to come out to his music. The fans get to pop for him. It's a nice little thing, and it gives the main events of the show a little bit more of a special. It would be like when they brought him back to call like 1 or 2 matches for WrestleMania. It gave that match a little extra something. But Mauro Ranallo, I mean, look what he did for NXT back when NXT was good.
Right.
And I hate to say back when NXT was good, but it's a proper prefix because NXT, Jesus Christ.
You're not wrong.
They're doing like discount House of Black with Joe Gacy, and he's basically taken, the Grizzled Young Veterans, remember them?
Yeah, vaguely.
He's turned them into SJW zombies, pretty much. Like, and I mean literally, like, they look like they've bleached their faces, and they got the eye things that are 2 different colors. I don't watch. I only see the pictures. I only see the stills, and I'm like, I still watch WWE, and I'm not willing to watch this version of NXT. What does that say?
It's pretty bad.
But yeah, Mauro Ranallo back on our TVs, back in our ear holes. Just overall, great thing. Second thing I want to touch on, which isn't ROH directly, but I think it should be. 3 different names that are said to be coming back from injury in time for All Out. Kenny Omega, CM Punk, Daniel Bryan.
Yes.
Is there an argument to be made, and I'm not saying which one, that you sort of shave one of them off to give ROH a boost into whatever ROH is gonna be?
Bryan.
Okay, yeah, if you say, I would say Bryan as well, but like, I don't know, like, you need, and it's not, I can't put words together. This is a great card that we're about to talk about, but if I was trying to get somebody who hadn't watched wrestling in 10 years to come in and watch this show, I don't know what I would directly go to, and that's not a dig, that's just, like, I'm sorry, you don't have a CM Punk on this card. You don't have a Kenny Omega on this. You don't even have an Adam Cole, really, on this card.
Bebe.
Yes. Yeah. And, I mean, he's another one we want to come back from injury, obviously, as soon as possible. But, like, go up into the bigger, like, stratosphere. You don't have a Chris Jericho on this card.
Right.
So, to take nothing away from their wrestling abilities and to take nothing away from whatever they're currently doing in AEW, this is where the split becomes weird. I think you need to sort of sacrifice a couple AEW bodies to bring the eyes over, and then once those eyes see what the rest of the card looks like, then they stay. It's kind of like the indie mentality. Bring in a couple big names and then showcase your homegrown stuff. And I'm sounding condescending as hell right now, but because you can't have all of those guys all gunning for Mox at the same time either. Like, unless you're going to have Omega versus Punk versus Bryan versus Mox, which wouldn't hurt my feelings, but I don't think they're going to do it.
I honestly think ROH probably a really good grounds to, put Bryan bring Bryan over there, Cesaro or
Claudio.
Claudio. Sorry, I couldn't think of his real name. Guys like that, or if you don't want like the super big names, you bring some of the smaller names. You bring you put Danhausen back in ROH. You put Wardlow in ROH. You give some credible names that have kind of already built a name in AEW.
I'm sorry, I do have to cut you off there. Danhausen is about to become the FTW championship holder, so
look, I love Danhausen.
Fyter Fest was shit. That's why we're not talking about Fyter Fest, by the way.
Yeah,
Fyter Fest was shit.
Let me remind the Spaz Phoenix viewers that Guapo went to the first ever Fyter Fest in Daytona Beach, and it was awesome.
Okay, let me open up this box here for a second. Oh, it's that attention you ordered.
Yes, that's why I'm talking. Anyway.
I mean,
yeah.
Butcher and the Blade beat up the Dark Order for reasons.
Butcher and Blade. That's a great. What you call it? That'd be a good tag team to throw into ROH.
Actually, you know what? Now that I've just thought, I was kidding, but now that I think of it, the remaining members of the Dark Order coming over to ROH, because they're not at the top of the card. They're not in any particular title picture right now, but they do have like the sentimental like fan following, and it would be like
you'll put the trios titles on them in ROH.
Hey, AEW fans, we heard you wanted some trios titles, so here, have some ROH 6-man titles.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh man, but yeah, so maybe borrow a couple names to bolster that if it's going to become like an actual show,
yeah. As well as build up those talents that you've been kind of only using on Dark, like your Abaddon, your Baron Black, your
Yo, do you follow Abaddon on Twitter?
I don't.
You should.
Okay, I will look at that. I will look at that.
Abaddon could get it. I'm just
Go
saying.
ahead and talk while I look this up.
Abaddon could get it. Is all I'm saying. That was the end of that joke.
Okay, I know it's getting off topic, but what about good old JR on Twitter and
oh my god,
retweeting those 9 hearts.
Oh my god. Here, Natalia, let me come out in public on Twitter and talk about your cousin's tits.
Sister.
Is
yeah.
it sister?
Yeah, sister.
Oh my god. I mean, you know what? On the one hand, like, Natty and her sister, like, go do your thing. Like, WWE's clearly not using you, so get out on social and be like, hey, look at that, tits. No judge, like, absolutely no judgment there, but like, Jim Ross out here flirting on Maine, that ain't it.
If you're only older, oh my god.
No, talking to Natty and saying if only your sister was older, which is even creepy because it's like, first of all, it's like secondhand creeping. Second of all, it's like, hey, think about me doing this with your family member, like, not out here like shaming content creators. Go grab your bag. Like, this is not that. This is maybe Jim needs to calm down a little bit. Anyways, moving swiftly on. I mean, think about what Sami and Tay did with that TNT title, and then Dan Lambert kissed it.
Yep, lucky son of a bitch. What?
Hey, people hate Sami and Tay because they're out there living their best lives. They are the AEW, Carmella, and Corey Graves. Miz and Maurice, etc., etc. Let's get into this card, shall we?
Please.
So, on the pre-show, they sort of threw 2 matches on last minute while what's his name? Excalibur goes through his, like, I'm going to run out of breath telling you about the next 6 shows thing that he does at the end of Dynamite. One of them is Willow Nightingale versus Allison Kay. Now, I don't know very much about Allison Kay, but Willow Nightingale, when they were building up to Supercard of Honor, you and I both went, Willow who? And since that show, I love this girl. I really hope they push her to the moon, in the words of Cameron Grimes there. Like, she could be there, like, you don't want to have, like, oh, this is our version of whatever, but, like, she could be their version of Bayley. Like, she's got that kind of energy.
Okay.
And she's good in the ring, too. And
yes.
She ain't hard to look at. Just putting it out there. So her versus Allison Kay, I think, because I don't remember 100% who Allison Kay is. I recognize the name, but it is what it is. So from my perspective, it'll be another showcase for Willow Nightingale, who is one of many who's not getting a whole lot of, spotlight on Dynamite. Or, like, she's been thrown in a lot of tags. Like, she's been thrown in as the 3rd member while Athena and Chris Statlander go after the TBS title.
Right.
So she's sort of she's making up the numbers, is the expression I was looking for. I'd like to see her sort of stand out on her own 2 feet, even if she's not going for a title or if she's going to go do ROH stuff, then that's cool. It's a singles match. It's on the pre-show, or what are they calling it? Because they call it something else. The 0 hour
buy-in.
buy-in. Oh, okay, because I saw another graphic where they called it 0 hour, which is like, okay, you're trying.
ROH is probably. I'm thinking what AEW calls it.
Okay. Look, first time I heard 0 hour, it's like, okay, you're trying to be edgy. Got it. Unless you can tell me something about Allison Kay. Thoughts?
No, I mean, I believe I've seen like limited stuff with Allison Kay, so I'm not honestly sure. I got no thoughts really. I've never seen Allison Kay like enough to really have a judgment, I guess.
So you're with me in the sense of we only know Willow, so our allegiance is kind of going to go with her by default, which is funny because going into the last ROH card, we said the same thing about Mercedes Martinez because she was the one we knew, and we didn't know who Willow Nightingale was. So now she's getting the coin flip of that. So we're going to go with Willow because that's all we got. Now, I am going to throw it over to you because you probably know more than I do about the Righteous versus Dalton Castle and the Boys for the ROH six-man championship.
Oh, God.
That was an evil waffle laugh.
So the Righteous, I know Vincent. I don't know Bateman and Dutch as much. All from what I remember, all three of them are really good. I don't know the boys too well. I know Dalton Castle and his boys, but I don't know these two boys
as wrestlers.
As wrestlers, correct.
Yeah. And see, my thing is
But Dalton Castle.
Sorry.
Dalton Castle's a great wrestler. The gimmick is great.
It's all gimmick. I'm not going to lie. I got to see Dalton Castle versus RJ City front row at a Destiny show. Check it off your Spaz Phoenix bucket list. It was a lot of fun. I'm not going to lie. I think that was the match where RJ City stopped in the middle of the match to lead the crowd in singing the theme to Golden Girls.
Yes.
Because he's got B. Arthur on his knee pad, and at the time, his finisher was the Knee Arthur.
That sounds about right.
It does sound about right. I'd like to see RJ City more in the ring. I don't know why that's not a thing. I'm sure there's somebody out there that does know why it's not a thing. You can educate me later on. Put it down in the comment section below. Hit me up at Spaz Phoenix. It's fine. Don't worry about it. And we can do hey EW. It's fine.
I think he got. Don't quote me on this. I want to say he got hurt, so he's still rehabbing something.
I think RJ City, Orange Cassidy,
but also he's doing whatever thing on YouTube. So
yeah, RJ City, Orange Cassidy, and Danhausen need to become the trios champions.
I'm okay with that.
And then when we go to Survivor Series, the only night of the year with inter-brand supremacy.
You're seeing where you're wrong there, right?
No, it's gonna be good. Like how long? Okay, once they establish ROH, how long before Sweet TK goes and says, that's a hell of a good pay-per-view concept you got there. It would be a shame if somebody stole it.
Yeah, not very long.
Looking at the Royal Rampage.
The Royal Rampage.
Actually, I shouldn't shit on that. That was actually kind of a cool concept, and I literally stuck up for that in the last pod, so I don't want to be a hypocrite. But also War Games. Just saying.
I mean, yeah.
The funny thing for me, this is why I threw it to you, because I figured you would know more about these guys than me, because I never watched. And I should say this when we talk about ROH shows. My knowledge
when ROH went under, I was very sporadically watching ROH.
Okay.
It was never a weekly, daily, or even monthly. Hey, ROH is on. I'm gonna watch it.
Okay.
It was sporadic at best.
But you had a working knowledge. Like if I said,
because...
I heard so and so is going to come over to WWE, you could at least tell me the general gist. Like when before Ember Moon debuted in NXT, what did you tell me?
God, yeah.
Hey, she's pretty cool and she does a stunner from the top rope. I'm like, cool. That's all I need to know. I should say, and I should say this for the people listening as well, my knowledge of ROH starts the minute Tony Khan walks out on Dynamite and says that he bought ROH.
Yeah.
So I want people to know when I'm making comments about certain things, I'm talking about my knowledge is from that point forward. So if I speak against something that's happened before then, it would be like a Marvel fan whose first Marvel movie was Endgame. Which really wouldn't work. But anyways. But no, it's only funny for me, and I said this going into the Forbidden Door pay-per-view. It's like, oh, that person's representing, New Japan, but I know them from Impact. Like, Jay White is a good example of that.
Right.
Tommy with the itchy knee. In this case, you got Vincent in the Righteous, and my knowledge of Vincent is in a completely different faction in Impact because he's part of the Honor No More boys. Which is still a thing, even though like ROH actually exists again, and I don't know how. I got to catch up on Impact because I haven't watched it in like 2 weeks. But they also have a show coming up soon, and I know this week the Motor City Machine Guns fought each other for a number one contender spot against Josh Alexander. I will say, cheaply plugging Destiny Wrestling once again, the next show that I'm going to for them, the main event is Josh Alexander taking on Dexter Lumis, taking on Killer Cross. Which is a pretty sweet main event, I'm not going to lie.
It does sound pretty fucking good.
You should come to Canada. It's going to be alright.
You know what? I just might.
With
the way this country's rolling right now, that probably sounds like a great idea.
You mean everything didn't go perfect and back to normal once you got rid of the big scary orange man? What happened? Jeff Dunham's puppet Walter came to life and won quote unquote won the election. Isn't everything okay now?
Hunter Biden's laptop. That's all.
I know. I watch me some Crowder. It's fine. By that I mean I watch Steven Crowder occasionally, which apparently makes me a bad person.
No, it just makes you informed.
I think it's hilarious that he's like labeled as this like super right-wing propagandist, and he's actually from Quebec. I think it's great. Like it is kind of unfortunate that he basically hates Canada, but
right.
I mean he's making fun of Trudeau, and that's fish in a barrel, and I don't want to. We're not doing this. This is not a thing we're doing tonight. Mercedes Martinez versus Serena Deeb for the women's championship match. Bell to bell, this is going to be a great match.
Oh, it's gonna be a banger.
And okay, I'll agree with you. Bell to bell, the wrestling in this match is going to be good. Unfortunately, that's all I have to say about it. Because they haven't given Mercedes Martinez, like, other than bringing her onto Dynamite to steal that championship from my girl Deonna Purrazzo, they haven't given Mercedes Martinez any time to like establish herself. Like they let us know that AEW had hired her, and then she kind of disappeared, and then she came to Dynamite to face somebody from Impact for the ROH championship. Hopscotching, and you've got Serena Deeb, who's awesome, but is basically an angry Karen.
Yeah.
And I think I've said this before. I might be right, I might be wrong. Serena Deeb is sort of their Natalya Neidhart. And I don't mean that in a derogatory way. I think you know exactly how I mean that. But, Natalya has never been given a gimmick in WWE. And this is as much on them as it is on her. Like, they made her the crazy cat lady. They gave her the farting gimmick. Do you remember the farting gimmick? They had her making out with the Great Khali and hanging out with Hornswoggle and all that. But on the other side of the coin, how technically fucking good is her? How many stories do you hear about how many people she's helped backstage and all that sort of thing? And universally loved almost, like backstage mom vibes, right? Yeah. And I want to show the appreciation for all of that. I would love them to give me a reason on TV to care. And I feel so similarly about Serena Deeb. The same way. Because, like I say, bell to bell, the match is going to be awesome. The same thing goes for Mercedes Martinez. And this is something that's going to affect all the championship matches. I can't really say who should win, who should lose, because I don't know who's next for them, because I don't know who's in the division, because we don't know what the actual roster looks like. Like, who is
Right.
who? It's a redundant question, I know, but I'm saying it for the sake of saying it. Who is on the ROH Women's Division roster?
Fiona?
Fiona, who's that?
I don't know. Do they even have a website up?
It's probably a branch off of the AEW website. But like, even if they do have a roster listing up, like, how would we know it unless we look it up? And where would you have seen that roster performing, because they don't have a weekly show? So I hope people understand what I'm saying, where I'm very, very looking forward to this match. I'm not really invested in either winner or either loser, and I can't really predict going forward because I don't know who else there is for either of them to fight. I'm going to say Mercedes Martinez, because just the little bit that we got to see of her in WWE/NXT/ the Mae Young Classic made me like her as a character. I think she's a badass, and I think she pulls off the badass thing really, really well. But it's like a slight leaning in one way. It's like 51-49 leaning in her direction.
Right.
Unless you've got anything to add.
No, I agree with you. I think it's going to be Mercedes Martinez with a interruption after the match, a post-match beatdown from Max the Impaler.
Okay.
I know you don't know who that is. So
No, I don't.
I will send you a link.
Is it an actual person, or are you putting me on the spot on my own show to look like a dick?
No. It is a shoot, I can't. Why?
Is it Mad Max from Stranger Things? Yes, I'm actually watching Stranger Things, guys. For those of you that care, I'm only on season 2 though, so don't be putting spoilers in the comment section.
Oh, I can't. Okay, I'm just going to pull up on my phone so I can copy the link because my computer's being dumb.
This is awesome audio. This is what you guys tune in for. This is Guapo doing his impression of Kristen doing the Wiki Goofu.
I already have the Wiki Goofu pulled up for myself.
With the fight card on it?
Yes.
Yeah, me too.
Maximum effort.
Yep. Which is funny, because the very next match on the listing, the way I have it, is the one that most people are predicting is going to be the main event.
Really now?
Yeah, really now. But
probably because
we'll move on to that one now while you're looking for stuff.
Oh, I already know what it is.
There's a little bit of a tag team match going on here.
Just a bit of a tag team match.
FTR versus the Briscoes. What are you? You're sending me something now. All right. Oh, cool! Another Abaddon.
But better.
Okay. I like Abaddon. Be nice. And as I say, go follow her on Twitter if you could get it. FTR versus the Briscoes. I didn't know much about the Briscoes other than seeing them once or twice in Impact before the last pay-per-view. I like the Briscoes. I know they've got some controversy around them. I am sidestepping that, but not ignoring it for the purpose of talking about the match. The stuff that they've done on YouTube to promote the match has been really good. Like, they came out of the last one, respecting each other, but like, by the way, we're also going to come back and punch you in the face again.
Right.
Sidestep to FTR's promo this week on Dynamite, Dax Harwood talking about his kid, which is awesome news, with her overcoming the heart issues, and them doing the t-shirt on on AEW Shop, the "We're Gonna Fight Like an 8-Year-Old Girl" thing, which is apparently going towards the American Heart Association. I think I have that correct. So people, if you want to go support the American Heart Foundation, go buy the FTR Fight Like an 8-Year-Old Girl t-shirt. It's out there. I think that's pretty awesome. Turning it into a 2 out of 3 falls match is pretty good. FTR's face turn, I think they're being mildly successful with the face turn. Like, fuck, they get some of the biggest pops of the night.
Right.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, and here is the thing. I would have called this a slam dunk before last week, because everybody and their mother thought that we were building to FTR with all the belts going after the last prize at All Out and putting all their belts on the line against the Young Bucks titles. Young Bucks aren't the champions anymore. They've moved those titles over to Swerve in Our Glory, indubitably. So it kind of makes me feel like they're putting that dream match sort of on ice for a while, which makes me think that they might put the belts on the Briscoes to actually start the ROH division, because Briscoes, as far as I know, and as far as like Paramount having control over AEW, they don't want the Briscoes to be on AEW television, so whatever they do is going to have to be somewhere else. So to give them something to do that is like specifically ROH might be good for that brand, rather than to leave them on FTR just to be like, hey, these are two of the several titles that we carry. I don't know. It's a case of, are you building FTR or are you trying to get ROH off the ground?
Right.
Thoughts?
I can agree with you. I mean, definitely FTR. I believe it'd be better to keep. I believe it'd be better to keep it on FTR, because if you're gonna keep this belt collector shtick sort of up with them, then I think that works better. But if you don't want to tie up FTR with another set of titles and get it off of them, yeah, give it to the Briscoes. I mean, they are already a ROH staple, so why not make your AEW inaugural show for ROH the Briscoes?
Well, I'm just thinking, like, if you're trying to do ROH stuff and you want focus on the ROH like all the championships, like I could say this for any of the championships that we talk about, but for the sake of those titles, for the sake of like getting the brand back up off the ground, because it's been kind of dead for what was like 5 or 6 months or whatever.
Yeah.
If you want sole focus on getting the show up off the ground, then putting your championships on somebody that can't go on the other show anyway, so that they do have that one singular focus, would reinforce it in a way. And it's like, okay, here's the Briscoes. They are strictly ROH. Now, whoever else becomes strictly ROH, you're going after those guys, not, hey, we're going to try and create you as ROH guys, but if you want to go after the ROH titles, you might need to go chase FTR on Dynamite. Like, they across the board, they're going to have to get rid of some of this muddy stuff. I just think in this case, where you can't put the Briscoes on AEW trademark television, I think that's one way to solve that problem really quickly, because the whole belt collector thing, I always believed, and people that you and I both listened to were always of the belief that them carrying all the belts was their key to get not only the AEW titles, but to get the AEW titles from the Bucks specifically. Because everybody was saying FTR versus the Bucks should headline All Out.
Yes.
I don't think that's going to happen anymore for a bunch of reasons. One of those reasons being that the Bucks don't have the titles anymore. And as much as I like Lee and as much as I like Swerve, I don't think AEW is putting those two guys in the main event, with all due respect.
I could agree with you with that.
So, as much as I'm far more familiar with FTR, I like them doing the belt collector thing. I like the 7-star FTR thing. I'm gonna go with a little bit more of like the boring logical route here, and I'm saying put them on the Briscoes.
I understand your logic, but
you're going with heart.
I'm going with the heart, and then I'm fighting like a girl.
You're going with heart, and you're going with the guy whose daughter has a bad heart and now has a good heart. And hey, if you follow the House of Black, Julia is now Julia Blackheart.
Yes.
Her name is secretly Ciampa. Anyways, moving on. Let's have a further funeral for NXT when I mentioned that Ciampa went from being Ciampa in NXT Black and Gold to being Miz's latest bodyguard.
There's so much wrong with that statement.
Ciampa is the Miz's bodyguard as the Miz gets ready to go to SummerSlam and face Logan Paul.
I hate WWE so much.
I was talking to somebody before I came on here, and I think I described WWE as, yeah, I'm still on the WWE boat, but it is literally rearranging deck chairs on the Titanic.
No. It at this point, it's just stabbing the inflatable life rafts and then throwing them in the water.
No, because there is still occasionally good stuff. There is still some bullshit that manages to shine through.
I mean, you polish a turd, it's still a turd.
Liv Morgan's got gold right now. It's all right. All the people on Twitter are having a good little fap over that.
I mean,
now you need to just put the other belt on Alexa Bliss and make sure you keep the other belt on Mandy Rose, and everybody can stay happy and good. One of the NXT tag belts just went in the bin.
No surprise there.
Oh man, it makes me sad. Guapo, do you remember? I know I say this a lot, but do you remember when the Black and Gold brand was the flagpole of this channel?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
Do you remember when the Black and Gold brand deserved to be the flagpole on this channel?
You remember when I diverted my honeymoon to go to the Black and Gold brand live at Full Sail?
That's all you. Not touching that one. Let's talk about the ROH Pure Championship.
But the point I make with that is, it was so good.
It was good back in the day.
I literally was able to convince my then only few days wife to leave Disney World in Orlando, Florida, to go watch wrestling on our honeymoon.
Hey man, TakeOver Toronto 1 and 2 were awesome. Yeah, they were. Yeah,
they were.
Yeah, they were. The what was it? Ciampa and Cole, 3 Stages of Hell, that ended with them fighting on a really, really overly gimmicked cage. Was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun to be there live anyway. Because, what's the third fall going to be? Could it be that cage that's hanging from the ceiling, poorly covered with black curtains?
The world may never know.
Oh, man. Anyways, Wheeler Yuta versus Daniel Garcia for the Pure Championship. Now, I want to know if you agree with me on this. I think we talked about this before, and I saw a little bit of it in Impact when Gresham and the ROH guys were there for a bit. The Pure Rules matches, to me, are kind of silly, kind of ridiculous, overly complicated, unnecessarily complicated, but at the same time, I love the matches.
Yes.
Because they have such a different feel to them. Like, they're ridiculous, but I also look forward to them. It's kind of like the Elimination Chamber is kind of ridiculous. I mean, if you really think about it, the Royal Rumble is kind of ridiculous when you compare it to people actually having a wrestling match and actually winning and actually losing. So, I mean, in AEW terms, most people don't like the Casino Battle Royals. I call those people wrong, but
now, do you remember the rules of the match?
I have a totally separate tab open. Hey, look at that.
So do I.
Each wrestler has 3 rope breaks to break a submission or a pinfall after a wrestler exhausts his... I should put this in here every time, because if somebody's listening to me and they're about to watch an ROH thing for the first time, this might be helpful.
Yes.
After a wrestler exhausts his rope breaks, the submission or pin attempt under the ropes are considered legal. I do like that. I do think that is pretty cool, because excessive rope breaks, when done badly, i.e. in WWE, they do feel like a get-out-of-jail-free card eventually. No closed fists, punches to the face, open-handed slaps or chops to the faces are permitted. Punches to the rest of the body are allowed, obviously excluding low blows. The first use of a closed fist costs you a warning, and the second use of a closed fist results in a disqualification. Title changes hands via disqualification or countout, which honestly takes me back to really, really, really old TNA days where you could lose or win the world title under a pinfall or disqualification. I love this one though. Outside interference will result in the automatic termination from the roster of any wrestler that interferes. Now, where I find that to be a bit funny, maybe you agree, maybe you don't, is if they have a young talent in ROH who's about to. We're comparing it to NXT, so let's say get called up from ROH to AEW. They're just going to come down and interfere in a pure rules match, get fired from ROH, and show up on Dynamite the next week.
Yeah.
Because it's going to be one of those. It's going to be one of those. Oh my God! If I lose this match, I'll never wrestle again on Raw.
Yeah.
And then I'll get drafted back to Raw in 6 months. It's fine. Like I say, needlessly complicated, but what it does do is it does result in like what some people call like the grapple fuck matches.
Yes.
And if this is like ROH is like the wrestling brand. So if this is like the wrestling match of the wrestling brand, and that's what makes it unique, then I'm all for that. Because there's nothing unique about, and I'll say this for both AEW and WWE. There's nothing unique about a wrestler that goes for the Intercontinental Championship or the US Championship or the TNT Championship or the what's the new one, the All Atlantic Championship. Like there's something unique about going for a women's championship because obviously you're a woman. No jokes. We're not doing jokes. We're not doing that.
Nope. Holding it to myself.
If I have to be nice, so do you. But like if you're a cruiserweight, there's only certain people that can go for that. It's a certain type of thing. Even if you go back to something silly like the Brawl for All, like you're having it was stupid, but you're having a very specific match for that. You're having a pure rules match for the pure championship.
I mean, I could see somehow, somewhere, we end up getting a blood sport match.
I don't watch Bloodsport, but okay.
You don't watch Bloodsport?
Nope.
Oh my god. I'm gonna need you to watch the this last year's Bloodsport.
Do the old Renee Young soundbite. Oh my god.
There's just so much, lack of better words, there's so much blood and it's just great.
Anyways, yes. I do think this is kind of funny though because again, it is an extension of the AEW thing, which is like goofy Eddie Kingston and friends versus the Jericho Appreciation Society. You got the wrestlers versus the sports entertainers, but you've got the one guy on the sports entertainers group that's a pretty fucking serious wrestler once he gets down to it. There's no way Yuta's losing this. Is it? No. Is there? No. I don't think there's much else to say other than that. Like, I think it will be a fantastic showcase for Daniel Garcia because Wheeler Yuta has been elevated through the fucking roof with being involved in the Blackpool Combat Club, and like, look what he's done.
Absolutely.
I will say it was kind of interesting to have him and Mox fighting his old friends on Dynamite. Not sure quite what they're trying to start with that, but Dynamite this week was kind of shit. So, yeah.
Yeah.
He's going to rename them the X-Friends instead of the Best Friends because I'm cheesy like that. Wheeler Yuta's crazy. I like the seatbelt pin, too. The seatbelt pin is pretty badass. But yeah, no interference. I doubt any of the rest of the faction people are going to be there. I mean, Wheeler Yuta does have one faction mate that's in another match, but I don't think that's going to factor into this, and it's literally in the rules that you'll get fired from ROH, which doesn't really mean anything because you all have AEW contracts. Let's move on.
Yes, let's.
Jay Lethal has a busy next 2 weeks, doesn't he?
Yes, he does.
If you don't know, go check out the card for Ric Flair's last match. It's going to be awesome. Jay Lethal and Samoa Joe. I would love to be looking more forward to this match because I like Jay Lethal, I like Samoa Joe. The problem is, after Jay Lethal left TNA and after Samoa Joe left TNA, I stopped watching TNA for a while. So my image of both of them respectively is like their work in the X Division at the time. I mean, Samoa Joe came and did Samoa Joe things in NXT, and Jay Lethal went to old ROH, which I didn't watch. WWE never used Samoa Joe properly, so my image of him is still what he was doing with Styles and Daniels and the triple threats for the X Division Championship and all that kind of thing, and much the same was Jay Lethal as a babyface doing his Savage and Flair impressions, and being the Black Machismo, which wasn't problematic at all.
No, not even a little bit.
So as much as I still like both of these guys, and I like what they are today, Jay Lethal gets a weird amount of pop when he comes out, considering the amount of controversy that follows him these days. And Samoa Joe just isn't on TV very often. They brought him in to beat, who was it, Tommy with the itchy knee for the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that was the last time we saw him, because didn't they write him off with like fake injury after that?
Yes.
So it's two guys that I like rather than a match that I'm looking forward to. And Jay Lethal being a heel doesn't really work, and Sanjay Dutt's annoying, and Satnam Singh is like slightly better Great Khali.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of terrifying that he does like a crossbody type maneuver, because he takes out like 3 people at once. But it's just, I don't know. Like, Samoa Joe should be the killer. Jay Lethal should be like the David and Goliath type character.
I think if anything in this match we do get a interference, or not interference, but Joe brings somebody in to help him,
Even the odds?
Yeah, even odds.
If he does, it's going to be Daniels.
Yeah, it's going to be, I think if anything, it's going to be 2. It would be Daniels and Kazarian.
Maybe, but they...
A little bit of SCU.
Maybe a little bit of SCU, but like we never see Kazarian on TV anymore. Like the last time I saw Kazarian was when he came back to do some cool stuff with Impact, like leading up into Slammiversary. He was doing some stuff. Like I think he was on Team Impact against Honor No More, because Honor No More does 5-on-5 matches, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
We don't need to worry about that. I mean, Kazarian, out of the 3 of them, I'm sorry, Scorpio Sky's gone off in a different direction, and he's doing Man of the Year stuff now. Daniels has obviously decided that his full-time in-ring thing is over, and he does a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we don't get to see, so we don't give him enough credit for that. But Kaz can fucking go!
Yeah.
Like, I know there's, like, a lot of people on their roster. Like, a lot. Like, they've got the glut that WWE had a couple years ago. But, like, if you see Kaz in the shape that he's in now, with the ability that he has now, the experience that he has now, what he can pass down that he has now, like, how is this guy not on your show? And I know that applies to a lot of people, but god damn. Because if this breaks down and does become a tag match at some point on Impact, you could do, like, Jay Lethal and Sanjay Dutt versus Samoa Joe and Kaz. I don't know that I necessarily need to see Daniels in that position at this point in his career, as polite as I can put it.
Right.
But, I mean, he can be on the outside chasing away Satnam Singh, maybe give him a slingshot or something. I have a weird feeling that they're going to put the belt on Jay Lethal and have him be, like, the annoying heel with the faction and the belt, and then just let him, like, pop his mouth off on YouTube until they have another ROH show.
Right.
I don't want that to be a case. Let me be perfectly clear. But I mean, there's nothing here. Like, there's Samoa Joe won the title. Jay Lethal wants the title. They crippled him, and then Jay Lethal did a bunch of annoying shit in the back, fought with Daniels, and Samoa Joe hasn't been there. So, as I say, not a match I'm looking forward to as much as 2 guys that I miss on my TV screen being back on my TV screen, which is great. I don't think the result is going to be what I want.
Understandable. But
Your call?
Jay.
Okay.
We'll go with Jay.
Okay, we've got a bit of a main event, or at least what I think will be the main event. I know a lot of people are saying that the Tag Team Championship might main event, and I don't mind that. But my old school head on, like, the World Championship main events, unless there's, like, something massive, like Rock and Cena twice in a lifetime. But Jonathan Gresham, newly heel-turned Jonathan Gresham versus Claudio Castagnoli.
Yes. Gonna be a banger.
Banger?
Banger.
Jonathan Gresham's short.
Maybe short, but the man can wrestle.
I mean, he's shagging Jordan Grace, so I can't talk shit. But
Nope, no, you can't.
God damn,
he don't even have to beat you up. She can.
Ugh. Okay, we got to get back to talking about the match.
Yep, come on. Focus fast. Focus.
I'm gonna talk again, like I said with the tag title matches. It depends what they want to do in this match. Because if you want to put Jonathan Gresham over huge, you have him go over Claudio. If you want to put over the title huge, I think you put it on Claudio.
Yeah.
Because I think they want to take advantage of the relative newness of Claudio coming to AEW/ROH, but also he's got a get out of jail free card in the fact that I think he's in the most popular faction in that company. And I mean, they're doing their own belt collector thing right now, because if we're saying Wheeler Yuta retains, obviously Jon Moxley isn't defending the interim AEW championship at an ROH show, so he'll still have that. If Claudio comes out with a belt, the only one that doesn't have a belt is Bryan, and that's only because he's injured. I mean,
yes.
You throw the TNT title on him, you could do like the whole, like, you know, the old what's it called? The Undisputed Era Golden Prophecy bit. Have that faction hold both top titles and both secondary titles of both, what do you want to say, like divisions, companies, what do you want to say? You basically play them off as untouchable, and then when everybody comes back from injury, you have the Blackpool Combat Club versus the Undisputed Elite.
Yes. All
of that. And I mean, Kenny Omega will come back and give himself the All-Atlantic Championship and give himself the Trios titles so that the Bucks can have titles, and then they'll win more titles, and there'll just be a pile of tin at the side of the ring when that match happens. But in all honesty, I kind of hope Gresham does win. Because if he does this and loses, that means...
I don't see them taking the title off of Gresham here.
Yeah. Because, I mean, first of all, we haven't seen him very much since he resurfaced in ROH as the ROH champion since the last pay-per-view. Like, every other champion they have is an AEW person, so it makes more sense. But every other champion in ROH is featured on Dynamite and Rampage. He hasn't been. Like, he's got a good point. Like, his promo is also reflective of real life, right? And also, like I say, I saw when he came over to Impact for a little bit, I saw a little bit of what he could do there, and I'm like, you know, that's a person I want to see more of. And Cesaro, coming over from WWE, is no stranger to putting other people over. Like, let's be real. And sarcasm aside, people are just happy that he's there. I don't think Claudio loses anything by losing this match.
No, he doesn't lose he does not lose anything for losing this match.
I think it'll be a case of he'll come out of this match still getting praise because, like, hey, you know, Gresham, you know, has sort of been under the radar for a little bit. Look how well Claudio did to, like, boost him. Not to say Gresham needs boosting, but like in terms of the optics of it, to boost him back up to where he needs to be to carry that belt. I think, I'm not saying you make Claudio your perennial jobber, like, permanently, but in this case, it would make sense. And like I say, Gresham's really short. So if he wins, it'll be good. I mean, if he goes to give him a big swing, he might end up in the fifth row. It's fine. Picks him up by 1 foot.
Goodness.
Somebody was like, oh, he should go to give him the big swing, and then Gresham should sit up and put him in a chokehold. And I'm like, you don't know how physics works.
No.
Like,
the gravity.
Well, gravity, physics, and
yes,
shortness. I don't know. He's getting trained by Peter Dinklage.
God.
But still, shagging Jordan Grace. I mean, Actually, you know what? You know what? Total side tangent. I got to give Jordan Grace a lot of credit because she did kind of a not so great thing and then a really great thing on the socials not too long ago. When the anniversary of Benoit's passing came along, she put out this big thing about how, you know, Benoit was shit and how he should burn in hell and rah. But then she went, like, which is fine, you can say that, because obviously. But, like, then it went on to be like, oh, somebody like him wouldn't even last in the wrestling world the way it is today. And I'm like, excuse me, what?
Right.
Like, you're trying to have two different conversations now. Like, absolutely, I am not here in any way, shape, or form to defend Chris Benoit, the person. Like, at
Correct.
all.
No, but I'll defend the wrestler.
But fuck, Chris Benoit, the wrestler? Like, are you mad? Like, out of context, without the personal side of it, and I know people say you shouldn't separate the two, but I'm doing it in this case. Talk about, like, what we were saying a minute ago, Wheeler Yuta, Daniel Garcia, with the pure rules matches. If Benoit was around now, doing that kind of shit, and making, I hate to say this because it means like glass ceiling kind of stuff, but like making the mid card matter,
right,
would be really fucking good, right? But she got the backlash. She was contacted by like a bunch of wrestlers that you would assume, like friggin' Chavo and Chris Jericho and I think Lance Storm and a couple of other people, but also by Daniel Benoit about like how like, hey, I think you're a little off script here and whatever. And she came back and she didn't totally take back her opinion of the person, but backtracked her wrestling side of the comment and was like, I was speaking about this person. I didn't think about the ramifications to other people like that my comments would have had. And I'm like, you know what? You sort of stepped in shit there, but you took the time, and you addressed it again. And like,
she was a good enough and bigger person
to do, yeah. And I'm like, and I mean, it's not like celebrities aren't people like us, but like celebrities, people on social media, people in everyday life, the more people do that, like, I'm not doing a little kumbaya speech here, but like, that's the kind of shit that makes the world a better place.
Oh, absolutely.
It's
that's
like the Seth Rollins thing as well. Like, supposedly, and this is a much smaller, much less controversial type story, but basically, he was in the middle of a workout set at the Black and Brave gym, and people came and tried to talk to him, but apparently he was in the middle of his set, and he kind of like told them off a little bit, and he came on social media with like a little paragraph, like not kissing their asses, like, hey, you shouldn't really do that when people are in the middle of a thing, but I was pretty short with you guys. Hopefully it wasn't taken to heart. Rah. Come on back by, and if I'm not busy, we can shake hands and all that. So I'm like, not to be a sap, but that's just some good shit.
Yeah.
You need some good shit. And you need some, like, there's so many people and we're so far off the tangent of the pay-per-view right now, but Guapo, right, in life right now, how many people in the world are actually willing to look at their shit and be like, yeah, I kind of stepped in it there, maybe we need to wipe that off. And I just thought, like, those two stories happening between. Yeah, but those two stories happening in such a short span of time, I think they happened within less than a week of each other, and I just thought those are positive stories that I don't think are getting enough attention. So I'll cram them in at the end of this ROH preview, which is fine, where we've already talked about AEW stars and Mauro Ranallo doing commentary, and we haven't talked about the big WWE elephant in the room, or that's no longer in the room, but fine, cool. So we're saying Gresham, right? Bringing it back on track?
Yeah, Gresham.
Okay, so now I want to say, as a whole, right? And I think we're going to say this for the next few times that there's an ROH show until they get a little bit more of an identity. What do you think right now of, like, what ROH is?
It needs something. Like, it honestly needs I wouldn't necessarily say a vision, but it needs to be more in people's and it needs a weekly show or bi-weekly, whatever it is, because until that happens, it will never grow. Obviously, because hey, you can't grow something if there's no eyes, there's no money rolling into it. But with that being said, AEW needs to do something and get the ball rolling with some sort of a streaming platform, not necessarily just for AEW, but for the entire ROH library that they possess, as well as the library that they do have for AEW, because you had that video library on demand for you, me, or just for you, example, Spaz. You're very limited of what you do know about ROH.
Yeah,
if you have
absolutely.
that video library steadily on demand to where, hey, me as a person who's watched more ROH than you, hey, by the way, if you're free this weekend, check out this match. It's on this pay-per-view, and go ahead and watch it. If you have, it's a 20-minute match. But
or
awesome.
that simple thing of like, hey, this person's about to debut in X company. They were in ROH for a bit. Go check out X, Y, and Z match.
Correct. Because so that way you get more information and you can be just as excited to see this person debut or this person have a major match. Just for example, the first person we talked about, or two people we talked about, Will Nightingale and Allison Kay. I don't really know Allison Kay that well. I'm sure she has plenty of matches in ROH that I never saw. If I wanted to go back and watch it, I can't right now because there is no sort of streaming service for ROH. Willow Nightingale was also another one that was like, oh, I don't really know her that well, but since we saw her in a few matches now, we know her, we like her.
Yeah. Here's my thought, right? And this is something I was saying a couple weeks ago, right? We talk about AEW has a lot of content, and a lot of it is unfortunately becoming disposable, right?
Yeah.
Like, I've made the joke almost from the very beginning. I don't watch Dark and Dark Elevation because I don't think a wrestling company should give you homework, right?
Correct.
Now, that's mostly a sarcastic cliche that I've stuck into the show now, but it's also true. Like,
yeah,
if you're shoving them off onto YouTube, it's basically the same effect as shoving a match off the card onto the kickoff. Like, it has a meaning behind it, right? So I've never watched an episode of Dark. I've never watched an episode of Dark Elevation, but we're getting to the point now where, and I thought this was going to happen when they announced the beginning of Rampage, and we were still, unfortunately, in the COVID era, and nobody really had anywhere to go. It's like, okay, right now people are going to watch that because we have nothing else to do. But once the world opens up again, and hopefully we stay open this time, like, Friday's going to Friday. And
right, exactly.
Rampage sort of becomes disposable. I mean, there's the odd time that Rampage is actually live, and then they actually put some effort into it. But they're few and far between. Like when they do Grand Slam, I think they're doing two separate 2-hour live shows, which is cool. I'll probably watch that, right? But then they do like Battle for the Belts, and that's the special show, and it's the one that's pre-taped, and you get into this mess, right? Here is what I would do if I was them right now, and this is obviously just spitballing and like ideas in my head type thing, right? But don't do it like WWE, but have two shows for the two companies. Take your Rampage slot, make Rampage a live show in the same time slot or whatever. Have a 2-hour ROH Rampage on Friday. Have a 2-hour Dynamite on Wednesday. At this point, I would say scrap the YouTube shows. I really would. Maybe, like, have a couple dark matches before and after Dynamite and before and after Rampage. And if people want to watch them, they can find them on the YouTube channel or something like that. But, like, don't make it like, this is a third or fourth or fifth show that you need to watch this week. It's like, hey, here's the stuff that came on before Dynamite. If you want to watch it, check it out, whatever, here it is. Like, make it intentionally disposable, if that makes sense. Like, if I found out that Abaddon was in one of the kickoff matches. Now I know Abaddon's not really in a prominent spot right now, but I like the gimmick. I like the whole like zombie whatever.
You like the shtick.
And she's taking on random local competitor X. I'm like, cool. I'll tune in for 5 seconds and watch Abaddon do her zombie thing, right? But I know I'm going to get a solid 2 hours of AEW over here. I'm going to get a solid 2 hours of ROH over here. Hopefully they sort of like parse the people out and not carve it in stone, obviously, because things can always change. But like sort of like if you're going down the roster, I'm like, okay, they're with ROH, they're with AEW. Yes, we know they're all paid out of TK's pocketbook, but like you can have the illusion of if I tune into an ROH show, I'm going to get this. If I tune into an AEW show, I'm going to get this. And then it's your job to make those two things different.
Right.
Because this card we're talking about tonight feels different than an AEW card. It feels it feels shorter. It feels more grounded. It feels like we're going to get a lot more. And this is the feeling that I'm getting from the ROH stuff in general. You're going to get more serious wrestling and less shenanigans. So this is the highest compliment that I can give it. This feels like a takeover.
Yeah.
This feels like AEW's version of a takeover. And if that's the case, and if you want to have those two separate images, hey, even if that means you want to open up the AEW side and make it a little bit more goofy, a little bit more towards the sports entertainment to highlight the fact that this is like the grapple fuck brand, I'd be okay with that because you are intentionally making them different. And maybe get rid of the tubes on the ROH show.
Okay.
The good guy, bad guy tubes.
Yeah.
Because by now that I know originally that was an old school like Impact Zone thing, but it's very much an AEW thing now. And something simple like that would be like, no, this is an ROH show. This is how we do an ROH show. I don't think there's a lot bad. I think there just needs to be more. Is my comment on that. And I think that part of the conversation is something we're gonna revisit until we see what their actual like show schedule is potentially going to be like. But I'm looking forward to the show.
Yes.
We're recording this late on Friday, so hopefully Saturday morning you guys are catching this. Scheduling gods don't like us. Real life gets in the way, which is entirely fine. Next week, however, I'm going to say this before we cap off. Next week I'm going back to doing the solo Dynamite review because it's Fight for the Fallen. Because they always do Fight for the Fallen. I think they need to spread those out a little bit, but it's fine. I will be coming up here at some point with a preview for SummerSlam. You'll be getting my Dynamite review, and then Guapo and I will be previewing Ric Flair's last match. The show.
Supposedly.
Yeah. Which is, can we say it? Ric Flair and Andrade El Idolo versus Jay Lethal and Jeff Jarrett. What the fuck is going on? Guapo, tell them where to find you.
You can find me on Twitter at Guapo_504 or the Spaz Phoenix channel because the Black Hat Feline channel is dead.
Somebody should check on her eventually. And you guys know where to find me or you wouldn't be here. I've been Spaz, he's been Guapo. This time we are your ROH reality check. Subscribe up there, talk down there, start a conversation. Keep all these conversations going. Don't be a stranger. I will talk to each and every last one of you later, but for right now, me and Senor Guapo are tagging out. Bye, guys.
Adios, mis amigos.